Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dirty Numbers. I think I've been forgetting to show this a couple of times. A memoir by me, Kim Kaye. Yippee-yi-yay. So, let's get into the last episode of Chapter 4. Would it be possible to meet the girls after the call to fuck 'em? No, sir, I said listlessly. Why not? He inquired. We're not that kind of service, I informed him. Telephone call only. Yeah, just to get us even more worked up, he griped. Would you like to place an order? I had to ask. It was my job. Get that call. Go team go. Does it sound like I do? He crabbed. I waited a bit. He didn't say anything else, so I hung up on him. Maybe in the old days, all of 2 months ago, I would have encouraged him a bit more, suggested that the phone mate might be able to relieve him. Now I gave the guy about 4 seconds to make up his mind. I spent the remaining time quickly processing the credit card slips. For some reason, I always left them to the end of my shift. Often the phone would get busy and I'd be scrabbling to do them. So far tonight, the phone was cooperating, but I hurried them along anyways, just to make sure the writing was oh so neat and that no errors appeared whatsoever. Gabrielle was a real stickler when it came to neat credit card deposit slips. Gabrielle. My mind dwelled on her for a moment. Gabrielle, pretty enough to be a top model. Gabrielle, artistic enough to be a noted painter. Gabrielle, head receptionist for a telephone sex operation. Why? What led her to this type of work? I know she made a hefty salary as head receptionist, but she didn't seem to work all that much harder than the rest of us. Perhaps being the owner's girl had a lot to do with it. Gabrielle was able to drape herself in long black mink during part of the winter and laze on a St. Tropez beach the rest of it. She'd show up for her shift with her hair professionally done, her nails freshly manicured, her clothes not more than 3 weeks old. She'd whip off her designer sunglasses and then plop herself into the ugly, worn swivel chair for the start of her shift. I wasn't jealous that she got paid so much. I just wished we'd get the same amount because I think the job warranted it. The phone rang and I did my usual song and dance. It's Linda, the phone mate said, done with Leroy. Is he calling back? I asked. Leroy often placed repeat calls in the evening. I doubt it, Linda surmised. Not unless he wakes up. He passed out. Yeah, he sounded drunk when he called, I replied. He was out of it, Linda said. He passed out on me while I was doing the call. No way, I faked a little laugh. I was doing the usual, faking the big orgasm, Linda explained. I heard heavy breathing from his end and I thought he was right into it. But then I asked him something and he just kept on with the steady, heavy breathing. He didn't wake up. I kept up my end of the conversation, finishing up the MasterCard slips. I was yelling his name real loud and everything, Linda said. If he wakes up and realizes his half hour wasn't up, I'll finish the call. He's got about 15 minutes left. He'll probably snooze the night away, I figured. If you think so, then I think I'll sign off, Linda decided. It hasn't been too busy tonight. That time of year, I told her. Aren't you broke right now? I was still paying off Jimmy's new leather jacket. If you ask me, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, Linda said. If a guy's horny, he's going to pick up the phone and call the service. No kidding, Linda/Shauna. That guy does pick up the phone and bug me. But that guy can't get any more charges on his credit card. That's why you're slow tonight, but I'm always busy. But the phone rang and I didn't get a chance to tell her that. I merely said goodbye and picked up the other line. Hi, Ken. I heard a dial tone. The guy had already hung up. Linda's statement stuck in my noggin, though, and it irked me. If a guy's horny, he's going to call. Why? I wanted to rent a billboard and put a big sign up saying, if you're horny, jerk off. Then I decided I would rather rent television time and offer one of those paid commercials. And I'd say, are you horny? Do you feel the unstoppable urge to speak to a woman? Then please, please make sure you have a credit card, and then please make sure there's room for that $55 charge. Oh, and please make sure that you want that collect phone call. And if you don't fit the criteria, or if you find the charge too expensive, then don't call. And if you still feel the urge to talk to a woman, call your mother. But Harold knew what men were like. He preyed on the fact that most of them had credit cards, and they would try the service once just to see what it was like. We get lots of those. But we got more, many, many more, who became addicted. Somehow Harold figured out that sex was addictive as much as drugs or gambling. Harold's brothers probably dealt in the... No, I shouldn't say that. It's just that Harold had this look. I'd often built little daydreams in which I tried to imagine Harold's life. He was, I guess, good looking in a dark sort of way. He was dark-skinned to begin with, but he was also a power tanner. And Harold's massive earnings from the sex shop, they were visible by the large gold rings and chains he wore. He didn't look like a pimp, though. He looked rich. But rich or not, Harold was still Harold. He liked to play head games, and he would read a double meaning into everything somebody said. I tried my best to avoid talking to him at all. And Harold took being the boss very seriously. His word was final. You got the feeling that if you crossed Harold, a simple "you're fired" wouldn't be enough. And what brought Harold into the phone sex industry? Like Cy Sperling, was he once a client himself? And where did he get the money to start up the business? Placing an ad in the most popular porno magazines was not cheap, and we appeared in all of them. Did he have silent partners? What were they like? And finally, what sort of mentality must one have to come up with this idea in the first place? Harold was such a private person. I could only imagine his life away from the office. I sure as hell couldn't see him being anybody's Uncle Harry, though. Thinking about my boss's reason for working here led me to wondering what brought me to this daft job. I thought for a moment and then glanced at the dress that I was sewing. It was then that I remembered I had an aspiration. I gathered up the exquisite poplin material and quickly had a vision of the fabric store I hoped to own one day. I love creating dramatic pieces of clothing, but I got the biggest thrill out of finding the unique materials to use. Fake suede, houndstooth, gingham. I get a shiver just thinking about it. Opening up a store costs a few bucks, though. Jimmy made a fair salary, and we were able to get by with my working at temporary secretarial jobs. But I'd been dreaming of my fabric shop for over a year. I'd set it in the heart of Little Italy, and maybe I'd even have a little alteration business on the side. It was a lovely thought, but one that hadn't visited me in months. Work had usurped all my energies. Work, if I may digress. I still have trouble calling what I do work. I mean, it definitely does feel like a job. It's just that when people ask me, where do you work? I try to slide around it by saying downtown. But often it's 10:30 at night and I might be on my way to fill in on the night shift and I'll say, I'm a receptionist. And they'll say, you're going to work at this hour? What kind of company do you work for? And then I either blatantly lie or sometimes I might tell the truth. Answering at a phone sex place is rare though, because then they usually want to know all about it. But back to why I got into this predicament. I was going to get a full-time job and save money for my store. So I picked up the newspaper's classifieds, and under office help required, I saw a small ad that read, phone line company seeking receptionist. I called the company and I spoke to a pleasant woman who suggested I drop by and fill out an application. I did exactly that and I met Harold. And after filling out my application, Harold asked me to return the next day for an interview. Determined to find a job in a city badly hurting from a recession, I prepared myself carefully for my second encounter with the boss. I dressed in my best office suit and I went for my interview, determined to impress Harold with my secretarial skills. He threw me for quite a loop with his opening statement, though. Does sex bother you at all? I honestly thought I was trying out for a telemarketing job. Scene. You son of a bitch! I screamed. Answer the fucking phone or I'm not coming home! There was still no answer at my place. I was so frustrated I broke into tears. It sure had been a rough shift, what with my being sick and now this. I continued my harangue. It's obvious you don't care about us, I sobbed. You say you do, yet you're pulling a stunt like this? Besides being rude, don't you think it's a bit childish? How can you just sit there? Suddenly, a loud screech came into my ear as Jimmy picked up the phone. Hello, Jessie. No kidding, I said sarcastically. Turn off the machine for Pete's sake. He shut it off and then he asked, What's up? What's up? I replied in a loud voice. What do you think? Why haven't you answered the phone all night? It's Tuesday, he calmly stated. The night I get together with my film club, remember? Oh, yeah. He belonged to a club that met every Tuesday, caught a low-price movie, and then went for coffee or wings after to discuss the film. Well, I forgot, I sniffled. Kill me. Holy shit, the machine is beeping like crazy, Jimmy noted. There must be over 20 messages on it. They're all from me, I told him. I've been trying to reach you all night. How come? He wondered. What do you think? I snapped. There was no getting rid of the rough edge to my voice. We had a fight. I wanted to finish it. In a tired voice, Jimmy said, You mean you want to continue it, don't you? I just want you to see my side of things, I wailed. I'm trying, Jessie, Jimmy wailed right back at me. But it's hard to communicate with you when you're half asleep or you're running off to work all the time. Well, don't start anything with me when I'm trying to get to work on time, I told him. You know if I'm late, Gabrielle docks pay. She's a financial genius when it comes to taking money off my check, but a real dimwit when it comes to getting my overtime right. It's funny, Jimmy said. She never manages to overpay you, does she? Half the time your check is short. Oh, she's just under Harold's thumb, I stated. Anything that ogre tells her ends up being the golden rule. They're the bad guys, Jimmy said softly. I'm on your side, Jessie. Oh, I know you are, I conceded. I just wish we could be on the same team. Jimmy tried to stifle a yawn as he said, Look, I'll try and stay up until you get home. Maybe we can talk some more then. Oh, Jimmy, you'll be too tired, I said, dejected. I have a day coming off to me this Sunday. We'll talk then. Weird thing to say when you live with the person. Sunday? Jimmy repeated. What about Thursday night? Isn't that your day off? Usually, I agreed, but I got asked to work, so I said okay. But I got us tickets for the Neil Diamond concert, Jimmy yelled. I thought I'd surprise you. You love Neil Diamond. Why didn't you tell me you had to work? You didn't ask. That's because we never get a chance to talk, Jimmy retorted. The conversation was heating up again, except the phone had to interrupt. Just as I said, hold the line, okay, to Jimmy, he says, there's a call coming in, Jimmy says. Whatever, I'll phone you back. We hung up and I picked up the ringing line. Hello, can I help you? I hope not, as there are only a few minutes left and I didn't feel like taking one more single, disgusting, depraved call. Hello, Jessie, a voice asked. A familiar voice. Who am I speaking to? I said in a dead voice. This is Harold, my boss said. Anything wrong? I perked right up, gave my voice some sex appeal. No, it's just being kind of slow tonight. I changed the subject. How's St. Tropez? Hot, he stated. I knew that outside here in Toronto, the forecast called for blowing snow for the next 5 days. Jessie, you've been doing a pretty good job for the service. Definitely leading up to something. Thank you, Harold, I replied. How'd you like to make a few more dollars a week? He asked. I'd love to, I enthused, before becoming cautious. I was, after all, dealing with Harold. How? If you want to work the night shift, we could raise your salary a couple dollars an hour, he explained. I need a smart girl on the phones at night. What happened to Luna? I inquired. Isn't she going to be working nights anymore? She quit, Harold informed me. Couldn't handle the job anymore. She even sent me a doctor's note saying she was suffering from stress. Huh, imagine that, I said smoothly. Surely anyone can get used to hearing 15 orgasms a day. And it really isn't so difficult dealing with the scum of society. Tonight's her last night, Harold said. Can you start tomorrow? Can I think about it? I asked. Well, I need someone for tomorrow, Harold repeated, and I can always ask Opal if she wants that shift. Can you just give me a minute to think it over? I begged. This is long distance, Harold had to say. The pressure was on. I wanted to consider the offer, but the uppermost thoughts in my mind were A, more money for my store, B, evening hours could be spent with Jimmy, and C, I would be able to make it to the Neil Diamond concert on Thursday. Yes, I'll take the shift, I told Harold. You're sure now? He asked, as if I'd had a lot of time to give it thought. You won't take it and then walk out on me like Luna, will you? I've been here this long, haven't I? I reminded him. Yeah, I'll take it. Fine, I'll see you when I return then. Harold signed off. I quickly phoned Jimmy. The phone rang a few times before he answered. Hello? Hi, are you still on the phone? I asked. No, Jimmy replied. That was Mark. He wants to know if I got a call from that baseball league. trite compared to what I had to say. Jimmy, guess what? Harold just called. What that idiot want? Jimmy asked. He asked if I wanted the night shift, I replied. The 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. What'd you say? I said, yes, of course, I exclaimed. For one thing, it's more pay. Harold is paying you more, Jimmy repeated. Are you sure you heard him right? Well, the night shift is busier than the rest of the day, I explained. Probably why the pay is higher. But Jimmy, the best thing is that now we can see each other when you get home from work. We can actually eat together. My supper will be your breakfast, he joked. But isn't that a start to fixing up our relationship? I asked him. Getting to spend some time together like a real couple? We'll have a good time, he promised before changing the subject. Jess, did you happen to check the messages? Do you know if the guy from the baseball league called here tonight? I didn't check, I confessed. Shit, you used up almost a whole tape's worth, Jimmy observed. I've got to go through all these messages just to see if that call's on there. Maybe I'll let you go, okay? Sure, Jimmy, I said in my most sugary voice. I love you. Love you too, Jess. I blew kisses and kisses and kisses until I heard the dial tone. You bet I was acting all sucky. But after hanging up on me, Jimmy was going to review the answering machine's messages. I hoped he still loved me when I got home. Scene. That ends chapter 4. Coming back to chapter 5, I hope you guys are. And so, that ends it. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.